Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right, welcome back, everyone. It's 4:02 in the Pacific Time Zone. Time for Toker Talk Radio. And we're going to start it right off with some talk. We got a caller on the line from the 951 area code. You're on the air with Toker Talk Radio. What's on your mind?
Hi, Russ. How are you today? It's a great show today. This is Mike Harris from Human Solution.
Oh, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'd like to talk today a little bit about a case in your state that we have. The defendant is Joy Graves.
Yes, tell us.
She's a longtime activist, and she's also a Native American of the, I hope I get this pronunciation right, the Oklahuas Native American tribe.
Mm-hmm.
She is a member of the Rosebud Reservation, and she has a church that is a branch church of James Warren Flaming Eagle Mooney, who's also a spokesperson for LEAP.
Yes.
Now, he has 4 times, I guess, beat back the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the U.S. government, as you recall, to be able to use peyote in Utah as a religious sacrament.
That's right. We've had him as a guest on our, James Flaming Eagle Mooney's been a guest on our show a couple of times. We've discussed numerous issues with respect to the tribes and their sovereignty. And of course, today we got that news that the government's going to let the tribes move forward with legalization if they want to. So it's kind of apropos we're talking about them.
Exactly. That's why I'd like to talk about it. The federal protections apply to all Oklahoma Native American churches, and the Native American Land Use Act allows for these protections both on and off reservations.
Mm-hmm.
And her church is recognized, and the judge in her case did acknowledge that she has federal protection for religious rights to use this sacrament. But the state went ahead and busted her anyways for a measly 13 little immature plants that were barely maybe above clones. And their contention was that she was too close to a school, 1,000 feet to be exact. But if it was measured on Google Maps, it's 1,584 feet.
Mm-hmm.
The school is right across from a Catholic church who has wine as their sacrament, and as you recall, wine was allowed during Prohibition as the religious sacrament of the Catholic Church.
That's absolutely right. So with this new memo that's come out, it seems to say that if the state, if the tribes in these federal lands, in these tribal lands want to enact laws that comport with the guidelines of the Cole memo, don't traffic to kids, have a strong regulatory structure and such, that they're not going to bug them. But do you see it having an effect on these First Amendment religious cases with respect to Native churches?
Well, according to the federal protections, they apply both on and off the reservations. U.S. Code 247 also gives her the right to sue for damage to religious property, obstruction of persons in the free exercise of their religious activity, as well as her church is registered with both the state and federal government. Not only that, the district attorney in her case, Matt Ipson, had the audacity to say that if cannabis was allowed as a sacrament, then meth, heroin, and human sacrifice should be allowed as well.
Well, guy has an interesting religious take on things. Now, their argument has always been, when you really boil it down, it's like, hey, it's okay if natives use ayahuasca or peyote because so few people do that and they're readily identifiable and not a lot of people use it recreationally. But if we let them use marijuana, well, gosh, everybody's suddenly going to be religious. They're all going to claim religious exemption. What I like is it's going to become a moot point because so many places are going to legalize that whether you're using it, recreationally, medically, or spiritually, it really won't matter because it'll just be legal.
Yeah, the same argument could be used as a morality thing as far as casinos. You don't have casinos legal in California unless they're a Native American casino. But there's no real uproar about any kind of immoral or moral imperative that's regardless.
Yeah. In my home state, in Idaho, it was always about the Fort Hall Indian Reservation in eastern Idaho selling illegal fireworks and untaxed cigarettes. But nobody ever made a big stink about, you're hurting the youth by selling these untaxed cigarettes. It always seems to be the marijuana that's a problem.
Yes, it's always a Lewis Carroll looking glass thing that things just aren't what they seem. Now, I'd like to also say that if your listeners out there have anything to say about it, they're free to call Judge Kramer to drop the case, because right now he is reviewing a dismissal order. He's already recognized that the church is under federal protection. And if he takes that stance, then he has no other choice than to drop it. But
right.
He didn't want to do that in court at that time, and so there's an indeterminate time until he's going to rule on it. So, if any of your listeners would like to call Judge Kramer, Kramer, that's 541-575-1438, and give him a little bit of peace of your mind. And, I ask for your callers to be respectful, of course, because this is a circuit court judge, and you have to be respectful about that. This is under Grant County Circuit Court, and it is being prosecuted, ironically, by the state and not the local municipality.
And what is the defendant's name again, so people will know?
Her name is Joy Graves, and she is indicted along with Raymond Martin.
Okay, the Joy Graves and Raymond Martin case, you can probably find more out about it at the website THSINTL. Is it .org for the Human Solution?
Yes, it is, .org. We're a 501(c) federal nonprofit.
All right. Check that out, THSINTL.org. Find out information on the Joy Graves case if you'd like to get involved and help the Human Solution. They're doing great work. Thanks for calling in and making us aware of that. Appreciate that.
Okay, you have a good day, too.
All right, take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Sir, do you think there will or should come a time for us to discuss the possibility of legalization, regulation, and control of all drugs, thereby doing away with the violent criminal market as well as a major source of funding for international terrorism? Thank you so much for your time, Mr. President.
Well, I think this is an entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Name the time and place, Mr. President. Radical Russ has been prepping for this debate full-time since 2005. The Russ Belville Show.
.420 Radio, the activist radio station. 5 of the last 9 major party candidates to run for president, 3 of the last 9 vice presidential candidates, and the last 3 two-term presidents have all smoked pot. marijuana, the gateway drug to the White House. This is the Russ Belville Show. Hemp Radio with Patty Cakes from Orange County, California, replaying Wednesdays at 10 Pacific on 420radio.org.
Hey, this is Willie Nelson for NORML. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer than alcohol. There's nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting those who smoke marijuana responsibly. To learn what you can do to help, contact NORML at NORML.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORML.
This weed game, man, it's the game for me. Makes a lot of paper. Sure do. And I'm trying to be a rich man. Real talk. You don't get you a little bit of loot? I like him. You want to be a rich man? Yes. Yeah.
You smoke it every day and you smoke it every night. You smoke it in the joint, blunt, bong, or in a pipe. Puff, puff, and pass, all you gotta do is ask. Marijuana 101, the only class that I can pass.
I'm about to grow the most beautifulest thing you ever seen. I got indoor, outdoor, I got pinkish purple weed. They can't stop me. I buy supplies and stay away from coppers. A ganja farmer looking in the sky, I'm seeing helicopters. And jealous talkers telling get no love where I'm from. You shut your mouth, don't tell nobody, unless you want the feds to come. So I shut up, stay low pro, and stick to what I know. Set the timers, hang the lights, and watch this marijuana grow. pH the tubs, I'm making sure the fans are spinning right. Put grow rocks in the buckets, then I move the plants.
All right, welcome back, everyone. 12 after the hour, that's music from Potluck with Marijuana 101. Oh, my goodness. Got a nice note back from Matthew Kuehlhorn with Community Thrive, thanking us for the interview, and I appreciated my Kevin Sabet reference. I didn't even mention Kevin Sabet by name. He knew who I was talking about. I imagine that this is a place that we're going to end up, is that Sabet and his ilk are going to get outflanked by a new, younger, more progressive drug rehab community that recognizes the problem with drugs, for the most part, ain't the drugs. The problem with drugs that people have is mostly problems with their life that are exacerbated by the prohibition of the drugs. Peter Christ always says there's drug problems, there's prohibition problems, and 90% of what people think are drug problems are really prohibition problems. And I'm so glad that we brought up the point of people in real need of rehab and real need of mental health care. Now, I would quibble with him on the idea that it's a very strict 80-20 Pareto principle with respect to who's going to have problems with certain drugs. That is to somewhat equate all drugs, right? Someone drinking coffee or marijuana, 20% of them are going to have a problem, just like 20% of the people using heroin or PCP. No, I don't think it works out, equally, right? I do believe there are pharmacological properties of some substances that do increase the potential for addiction. Hell, we know it to be scientifically true because the tobacco companies proved it. They figured out how to make cigarettes more addictive. There are fast food companies who have teams of chemists whose sole jobs are to figure out how to make you A, like something, B, want to eat more of it, and C, not get full or not have the feeling of satiation when you eat it, right? So there's a whole mechanism of that leads to an additional propensity to want to use certain substances over others. But the general point of, most people using drugs don't have a problem other than the prohibition. Most people do not. I will argue that that's a greater proportion amongst the cannabis community and coffee drinkers than it is, say, heroin, cocaine, and alcohol. And yet still, I think those things should all be legal because most people do not have a problem with them. And the people that do have a problem with them, those problems are exacerbated by making those problems criminal. Even someone who's an alcoholic, when people have this problem, and this is going to be interesting within our own movement as well, within the marijuana movement, getting people outside of marijuana provincialism and exceptionalism, right? I know a lot of people who can make a knocked out argument. Marijuana ought to be legal. There ought to be pot shops, etc. And they can give you a chapter and verse why it should be. But they'll hesitate when you talk about cocaine, or they'll hesitate when you talk about meth or heroin. Oh, yeah, those shouldn't be legal. They're bad. Folks, a drug in and of itself is not bad. Drug in and of itself is not bad. There may be more potential for bad, but that depends on the person that's using it, doesn't it? So, with respect to these other drugs, when someone freaks out, if you broach the idea that now maybe when we talk about legalizing cocaine or heroin or meth, we're not talking about meth shops or cocaine shops, right? Maybe we're talking about a much more medicalized situation. Maybe doctors are involved for prescription or at least evaluation purposes. Limits, no branding, no commercialization. Maybe it's a different type of legalization, right? But to get past that psychological roadblock, that little hurdle of, oh my God, we can't talk about legalizing drugs, can we? Keep in the forefront of the conversation the fact that we have legalized and commercialized the worst one. We legalized and commercialized alcohol. OMG. By far the worst drug. When it comes to the overall effect to every organ in the body, when it comes to its ability to addict, its development of tolerance, reinforcement of addictive behavior, negative repercussions to the user and society and those close to them, it's right up there with heroin as far as how bad a drug it is. And yet we legalized it. Try and get people into this mental picture. Get them to imagine someone they know who's an alcoholic. Maybe they themselves were even an alcoholic. But, imagine someone they know who's an alcoholic. Someone in their life is. Damn near guaranteed, right? Somebody close to them. Someone they know's got a drinking problem. Maybe they don't think of him as an alcoholic. Oh, he's got a drinking problem. Sometimes he overdoes it a little. And ask them how much better off that alcoholic or that problem drinker would be if the detection of the scent of alcohol on his breath, or the discovery of an empty beer can in his trash, meant the cops could come in with their SWAT gear on, break down the door, kill the guy's dog with an automatic weapon, throw the guy to the floor, put a knee in his back, handcuff him, drag him out, sit him in a cage, leave him there for a length of time, post an exorbitant bail he can't possibly make, forcing him have to lose his job because he can't make it into work, forcing his wife to have to take time off to take care of the kids or other sacrifices because the dad's in jail for the beer can they found in the garbage. And then dad gets a criminal record for being a beer drinker. He lost his job because he was in jail. Now he's got to go get a new job, but he has to keep checking that box that says he's a no good criminal. A no good criminal who takes drugs. Drinks beer. Does anyone think even problem drinker dad, who drinks a 12-pack every night when he comes home and neglects the kids, anybody think problem drinker dad is better off with the SWAT team bursting through the doors, shooting his pets, and ruining his life? Now, if that makes no sense to the person you're talking to, plug in cocaine. How do we help cocaine dad? By bursting through the door, shooting his pets, ruining his life, making him a criminal. How do we help meth dad that way?
Come and see the violence inherent in the system! Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
Well, always been kind of an anarcho-communist syndicate. Oh, it's 4:20 here in the Pacific time zone. Gotta go check out the latest on the embiggened Cromulus bill. Chronic Cromnibus bill. God, I gotta smoke more weed to get through this shit. I'll be back in less than 90 seconds.
420 Radio, the home of marijuana experts.
There's so much I worry about as a mom. Stephen Harper thinks that organized crime should continue to profit from marijuana prohibition. Imagine regulating marijuana like alcohol and cigarettes with a strong and clear educational message, making it more difficult for my kids and your kids to access. Drug dealers don't ask for ID. Stephen Harper does not have the kind of judgment we need to protect our children, authorized by the Normal Women's Alliance of Canada.
Georgia. Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 1920s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stopped arresting responsible marijuana smokers. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
Get.Buzz. .Buzz is the internet platform that fuels community interest, excitement, and new experiences. .Buzz is the premier online destination for internet users seeking the latest news on a variety of topics. .Buzz appeals to groups active in blogging, communications, journalism, advertising, and marketing. .Buzz offers registrants a stronger alternative to the shrinking namespace of existing top-level domain names, such as .com, .net, and .org. Get your name now at get.buzz.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Groovin' Thursday, featuring rap, hip-hop, soul, and funk music. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
Oh, yeah, welcome back, everyone. Almost 23 after the hour. Some of you noticed my shirt. It says, "Where's the marijuana?" This was sent to me by a listener during the Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman thing. George Zimmerman's defense team was supposed to bring up Trayvon Martin's marijuana use during the trial, and when the defense concluded and did not bring it up, courtroom microphones overheard George Zimmerman say, "Where's the marijuana?" So now it's my new favorite shirt, man. Where's the marijuana? And I know somebody who's looking for the marijuana. We got him on the line. Chuck Diesel is waiting to talk to us. How you doing, Chuck?
Doing good. I think I've got your marijuana right here.
Oh, fantastic. I knew it went somewhere. Well, I'm glad you got a hold of some of that. How you doing today, man? It's a beautiful day.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm doing pretty good, just dodging tree branches, and the wind is howling over here on this side of the river. I don't know if it's reached you yet.
Yeah. We've been having some windstorms, a lot of branches on the sidewalks everywhere you go, but we got some sun over here in Portland today, finally.
Nice. Yeah. Well, so the song we're going to go with today is actually Acid Raindrops by People Under the Stairs.
Oh, my goodness.
And I think you'll find it fitting for both marijuana and the rain and the weather.
Well, I better find this because I still have Immortal Technique loaded up here.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I put it out there with him. If you have any problems finding it, we can always go with Immortal Technique today.
Yeah, we're going to have to. That's the only thing I'm finding in the Dropbox right now. I don't know if we got a link problem or, well, mine says it's up to date. So we'll have to go with Immortal Technique. What can you tell us about this tune?
I am not sure which tune you're looking at, but I can tell you about Immortal Technique.
It's Point of No Return.
Oh, okay. No, that's a good track. It's pretty aggressive. It's one of his kind of, if you remember the track from last week, he's kind of fancies himself a revolutionary, which for me he kind of was, just listening to some of his points of view on history, and sometimes he goes a little too far down the Illuminati track for me, but I definitely appreciate the history that he injects into his music. He actually spent some time in prison for, I believe it was cocaine distribution, but he, in the meantime, just read the entire time and came out much better for the time inside. So I saw him at the Wonder Ballroom. I think it was 2007, 2008. And it was like, I had just moved to Portland. I was at a concert with a, kind of conscious hip-hop artist. There was smoke just pluming out of that place, and I felt like I had arrived. So he holds a special place for me.
All right, well, let's get it on. This is Immortal Technique with The Point of No Return.
Yeah. It's that real this time around. Immortal Technique. Revolutionary Volume 2. It's on now, motherfucker. Lock and load. This is the point of no return. I can never go back. Life without parole, upstate, shackled and trapped. Living in the hole, looking at the world through a crack. But fuck that, I'd rather shoot it out and get clapped. I've gone too far, there ain't no coming back for me. Auschwitz gas chamber full of Zyklon B. Just like the Spanish exterminating Tainos, raping the black and Indian women, creating Latinos. Motherfuckers made me out of self-righteous hatred. And now you got yourself a virus, stuck in the matrix. A suicide bomber, strapped and ready to blow. Lethal injection, strapped down, ready to go. Don't you understand? They'll never let me live out in peace. Concrete jungle, guerrilla war out in the streets. Nat Turner with the sickle, pitchfork and machete. The end of the world, motherfucker, you not ready. This is the point of no return and nobody can stop it. Malcolm Little when he knelt before Elijah Muhammad. The comet that killed the dinosaurs, changing the earth. They love to criticize, they always say I changed for the worse. Like prescription pills when you misusing them, nigga. The Templar Knights when they took Jerusalem, nigga, and figured out what was buried under Solomon's temple. Al-Aqsa, the name is not coincidental. I know too much, the government is trying to murder me. No coming back like cutting your wrists open vertically. How could the serpent be purposely put in charge of the country? Genetic engineered sickness spread amongst me. My people are so hungry that they attack without reason. Like a fucking dog ripping off the hand that feeds them. Immortal Technique is treason to the Patriot Act. So come and get me, motherfucker, cause I'm not coming back. This is the point from which I can never return. And if I back down now, then forever I burn. This is the point from which I can never retreat. Cause if I turn back now, there can never be peace. This is the point from which I will die, succeed, live in the struggle. I know I'm alive when I bleed. From now on, it can never be the same as before. Cause the place that I'm from doesn't exist anymore. This is the point of no return, nigga. You better believe this. Mary Magdalene giving birth to the children of Jesus. The evolution of the world, bloody and dramatic. Human beings killing monkeys to conquer the planet. The kingdoms of Africa and Mesopotamia. Machine gun your body with depleted uranium. This is the age of microchips and titanium. The dark side of the moon in contact with aliens. I started out like Australians, criminal minded, broke into hell, tore it down and built a city behind it. Southpaw, murderous methodology, nigga. Remember that I'm just a man, don't follow me, nigga. Cause once you pass the point, you can never go home. You gotta face the possibility of dying alone. So tell me, motherfucker, how could you die for the throne when you don't even got the fucking heart to die for your own? It rains acid, one day the earth will cry from a stone. And you'll be looking at the world living inside of a dome. Computerized humanity living inside of a clone. This is the place where the unknown is living and real. Wormwood, the Planet X, and the Seventh Seal. Universal truth is not measured in mass appeal. This is the last time that I kneel and pray to the sky. Cause almost everything that I was ever told was a lie. This is the point from which I can never return. And if I back down now, then forever I burn. This is the point from which I can never retreat. Cause if I turn back now, there can never be peace. This is the point from which I will die, succeed, live in the struggle. I know I'm alive when I bleed. From now on, it can never be the same as before. Cause the place that I'm from doesn't exist anymore.
.420 Radio, fighting prohibition since 2012. The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com. Drug Truth Network Cultural Baggage, replaying Wednesdays at 11 Pacific on 420radio.org. Are you a hypocrite? If you live a closeted cannabis lifestyle, you are. Read about 7 people living a closeted cannabis lifestyle who are on the verge of coming out in The Hypocrites by Mara K. Eaton. Available at areyouahypocrite.net. You can purchase the book on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, also available on iTunes. Check out Mara K. Eaton on Facebook as well. Learn more at areyouahypocrite.net.
Welcome back, everyone. 33 after the hour. Don't let it be said that I don't pay attention to my chat room. That is 7 Segundos with the Espanol version of Dust in the Wind. 6 seconds, right? 7 segundos? 7 seconds. I had to count in my mind. You saw me counting in Spanish in my mind, didn't you? All right, so we're still waiting for the latest information on the Cromnibus bill, which I'm now informed stands for Continuing Resolution Omnibus Bill. Cromnibus. Omnibus is when they take a bunch of shit and they stuff it all together, right? Like a haggis kind of legislation. And continuing resolution is when we can't pass our haggis legislation. We kind of give ourselves a delay. What is it? Like extension, right? So this is a Cromnibus. This is haggis with a built-in antacid, I guess. I don't know. I'm stretching the metaphor. But still, this Cromnibus bill thing, right? Oh no, they might shut down the government. Oh no. Now you remember we've had government shutdowns before, right? So what are we worried about? What is there to lose if the government shuts down? Well, first of all, the DEA is not in operation at that time. So that's nice. They're not working. I mean, I'm being a little facetious here. I know there's a bunch of people that are hurt by a government shutdown. You have problems with Social Security checks and national monuments are closed and so forth, right? But, you know, I don't know that without some sort of serious stand that this is ever going to change. There's some really odious shit packed into this bill, aside from, what they want to do to DC legalization. They want to increase the maximum amount that someone can give individually for to the Republican committees or the Democratic committees. They want to increase that by a factor of 10. And I think it's from $32,000 to $320,000 that they could give. And understand that there's more than one of these Democratic committees, right? There's Democratic Senate Committee, Democratic Leadership Committee, Democratic Congressional Committee, and so forth. They're going to make it so that rich folks, the limit for them to give to a party is going to be $1.3 million. They're going to make it even worse for those of us who only have small donations to give, as if we matter much as it is. There it is. Cosmic Sports got it in the chat room. $32,400 to $324,000. They're going to make it even more a corrupt system where money talks and democracy walks. They want to slip into this thing language that was literally written by Citigroup. I saw the highlighter comparison of the bill and what was proposed by Citigroup. It's word for word cut and paste. And what they're trying to do, y'all remember way back in 2008, oh gosh, it was 6 years ago. I can barely remember. When our freaking economy crashed and burned, when thousands of people lost their homes and their jobs, when the Wall Street bankers were engaged in slimy, unethical, and illegal plundering of our economy through the use of these derivatives and these crazy packaged bundle deals and selling loans to people who could never afford these loans, crashed the whole economy. Not one of them did the perp walk. Not one of them got charged. Had to do any time for wrecking our economy. And so after that, we made this law, Dodd-Frank, right? And part of Dodd-Frank had this little provision in it that said that the banks couldn't do their big risky bets alongside with their more traditional bets. Y'all understand, like, banking and Wall Street is all like a casino, right? It is all really just gambling. You're making bets on which companies are going to, do well. So, to use the casino analogy, what happened in 2006 is that we've got a country that depends on slot machines and blackjack. Okay? Slot machines are like your home loans, right? Maybe blackjack's the home loans. The house does have an edge, but it's a tiny little edge. And most people can use the home loan to better themselves and to make a little money and build some wealth. And maybe slot machines are business loans. I don't know. It's a clumsy metaphor. But by and large, the economy runs, like most Vegas casinos, run on their blackjack and their slot machine proceeds, right? It's the general bet. It's, understood by most people and pretty easy to play. And then you got the banks, and they don't play the slot machines where they're only losing a nickel at a time or a buck at a time. They're not playing blackjack where they're throwing down $5-10 at a time. They're playing high-end 5-figure baccarat, right? Or, I don't know, Keno or fucking, what's the roulette wheel, right? Doesn't matter. They're playing a very complex game with very high risk and high reward. Now, what had been going on is that these banks, through the erosion of lots of laws, had been able to move their risky bets that are over there in the baccarat world over into the blackjack and slot machine world. Now, the blackjack and slot machine world's all insured by the federal government, right? You get a home loan, you got your bank, account. FDIC insures that stuff. If you lose the bet, if a lot of people lose the bet, it doesn't crash the whole system. There's an insurance. There's a backup there so that we don't crash our economy, so that the average people have some sort of safety net. Well, through the erosion of laws, these bankers then started taking all of these risky bets in this derivatives trading and started putting it over there on the insured side. And so, of course, when it all came crashing down in 2008, the taxpayers were on the hook to back up the insurance on all these risky bets. And that's where he said AIG Insurance folds, and we have, Merrill Lynch collapses, and all these people that have been the guarantors here started collapsing. So we instituted this rule after this collapse and said, hey, let's keep those things separate. Let's keep the risky stuff out of the federal insurance. We're not going to stop you from doing the risky stuff. You want to bet on the risky stuff, bankers, and make a lot of money. That's cool. You can do it. But if you lose, you're going to eat the loss. So that over here, we can still keep the home market and the business loan market and just the general financial world afloat. Well, in this Cromnibus bill, they have taken out that protection. They want to go back to the good old days when they could put the risky bets over there on the insured side. So we got that hanging up the Cromnibus bill. We've got approval for 4 F-35 fighter planes. Now, the F-35 is a fantastic fighter plane if your goal in fighter plane technology is to keep employees of McDonnell Douglas employed. If that's your goal, it's a great project. If your goal is to fly a plane in combat, this will not do it for you. The F-35 has been plagued with problems. With simple things like taking off. Lehman Brothers. Thank you, not Merrill Lynch. Lehman Brothers. Problem with taking off, turning, landing. Significant things. The Pentagon doesn't want the damn thing. And it's been a billion after billion after $1 billion they put into this thing, this F-35 project, and nobody wants it but McDonnell Douglas and the congressmen and senators they own. Meanwhile, they're trimming like $93 billion from WIC, Women, Infant, Children Program. For like single moms and moms in poverty to be able to afford milk, cheese, eggs, bread for their kids to eat. I'm a WIC kid. I grew up only able to eat home-cooked meals thanks to WIC. So we got plenty of money for the McDonnell Douglas lobbyists, but moms with hungry kids, well, they don't really have lobbyists or anything, so they can't bitch, right? That's some of the stuff that they're cramming in this bill. And to think this is how we get things, or at least pretend or try to get things done in our country, by leaving it all to the last minute and having it like it's, better pass it or the country gets it, right? Reminds me of Blazing Saddles. Do what I say or the country gets it. So much in this and so much wrong with the way that we do this, because you can't have any sort of reasonable dialogue. There's no time for it, first of all, but you can't even have reasonable dialogue of whether it's a good idea or not to have the F-35 or to have more money for WIC or whatever, because you're all working under the gun of the country being shut down. It's insane. Some of the stuff they put in here, they put in a provision. This reminds me of Idaho a little, right? Idaho passed that resolution that says marijuana shall never be legal for any purpose in Idaho. Well, yeah, it's not legal now. Right, and it shall never be. Right? Washington, D.C. did a thing like this, or Congress has done a thing like this with respect to Washington, D.C. They've got a rider in there, at least last time I looked, that forbade the District of Columbia from spending any of its budgetary money or having any of its elected officials engage in, support in any way either a court case or an initiative attempt or any legislative attempt to gain voting right for the District of Columbia in Congress. Congress currently has total control over the District of Columbia, and they take taxes from the District of Columbia. But the voters of the District of Columbia have no say in Congress. The people of Wyoming have a representative, and they have 2 senators. But D.C. does not. Wyoming has a population of 582,000 people. The District of Columbia has a population of 640,000 people. The 582,000 people in Wyoming have a representative and 2 senators in our Congress. Washington, D.C.'s got 0 with 640,000 people. How can this be? Now, Representative Andy Harris, the one who's trying to meddle in D.C.'s affairs, says that if district residents don't like it, why, they should just move. Move to a state where you do have a representative, he says. Wow. Oh, just move. Just get up and move. If you want to have, representation in Congress. How much more of an indicator do you need of the colonial mindset of our Congress with respect to the mostly black residents of Washington, D.C. than that? Well, if you don't like it, just move. And yet, Representative Andy Harris of Maryland didn't like it when the residents of Maryland voted for medical marijuana and for decriminalization, and tried this same sort of congressional meddling to deal with Maryland, to deal with his own state. He couldn't even convince the people of his own state. Well, gee, Representative Harris, if you don't like marijuana so much, and you're living in a state where they've decriminalized it, why, aren't you the one who should be moving?
Continue the conversation with Radical Russ online. Visit RadicalRuss.com and email RadicalRuss@gmail.com.
That's not any diss on the people of Wyoming necessarily. Wyoming's a beautiful place. I encourage you to visit it if you get the chance. But D.C., with more people in it than Wyoming, should definitely have as much congressional representation as Wyoming does. Oh my God. All right. Hey, stay tuned. Coming up next at 5 o'clock, we've got Big Daddy Fink's Funky Roller Rink, episode 20 from season 1, Rap Attack, sucker! Electric Kingdom, coming up at 5, and then at 8 o'clock, there'll be another replay of Big Daddy Fink's Funky Roller Rink. Stick around.
420 Radio, your ticket to the Boston Freedom Rally. You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today in your motherfucking ear hole. Yeah. You are now in tune with the Dirt Ball. Yeah. P9 Shavlin. Come on, out of the project, I project. Shouldn't be hard to get that respect. Nigga hotter than a barbecue on my neck. I got a gang of beef and I don't let it affect. How the wind gonna hit my wings, or whether or not my mouth gonna hit the bing. And I'ma let go and I'm so vaporate. And the bass so high, gotta activate. And when I'm up there, I can see all over the map.
Oh yeah, welcome back everyone. Music from Bend, Oregon's The Dirtball. Project Upwards is the name of the track. Dirtball, of course, is a member of the Cottonmouth Kings now, but also a great solo artist. Check out his stuff. I've never heard anything he's done that I didn't like. So 51 after the hour, and closing out the hour here, going off the warpath a little bit on this one. Of course, the CIA torture report is in the news. The Senate report on torture from the Bush administration. And, you know, it's one of these things that's kind of like, to me, it's like the Ray Rice thing. You remember Ray Rice, the Baltimore Ravens running back? He hits his wife, or his then fiancée, in the elevator and knocks her out. We see the video of him dragging her knocked out body out of the elevator, right? Now, we knew what happened in the elevator. He knocked her the fuck out. We knew that. But somehow it was worse when we finally saw the actual video of him knocking her the fuck out. I think this CIA torture report, this Senate torture report's kind of the same thing, in that we knew they were doing some nasty, lethal shit during after 9/11 and during the Bush years with respect to torture of our detainees. We knew that was happening. We saw the pictures at Abu Ghraib. We knew what was happening. We were getting reports of this stuff. But now it's all official. Now it's all in print. And it has people reacting to it more viscerally. I'm fascinated in some respects that the thing that seems to have captured a lot of people's attention is rectal rehydration. You know, where these prisoners would go on hunger strikes and you know, trying to kill themselves, trying to die, and we would prevent them from dying by sticking a tube up their ass to rehydrate them. We'd pump them full of fluids and nutrients. And that's got everyone's attention. Ooh, rectal rehydration. And I'm reading all this stuff thinking, man, that's like the least torturous thing we did in a lot of these respects. We're talking about people being waterboarded, people being in stress positions, people being locked into coffins for hundreds of hours. So, yeah, you know, the rectal rehydration, I think it's just kind of telling that that's what America is revulsed by. It's kind of that underlying homophobia in America. That's, oh my God, we stuck tubes up people's asses. That's the worst thing ever. Really? You know, I'll take the rectal rehydration over the being locked in a stress position for weeks. I'll take the rectal rehydration over the dying of hypothermia chained to a floor. And I think what's getting people on this one is, like, we knew it was happening, but the extent to which it happened and how much the CIA lied and covered up what was happening. And throughout that whole time, I was on the radio during the ends of the discussions of that and the beginning of the Obama administration when it was discovered he wasn't going to prosecute any of these people. And reflecting on the events of the past couple weeks as well, to me, this is just all the same fruit of the poison tree. Looking at the over-militarization of our cops and their brutalization of the American people, and then looking at our military and our government and its brutalization of prisoners of war is really two sides of the same coin. It's our increasing inability to have any empathy or understanding of the humanity of the people we're dealing with. And a rejection of lessons we've learned from history. I mean, that's the root of prohibition right there, but it's also the root of these people that throughout the beginnings of our so-called war of terror, that these people did not learn the lessons of history. We convened tribunals at Nuremberg to punish the Germans who had done to us the very things that we did to supposed Al-Qaeda. We did the same to the Japanese. We punished them for doing to our soldiers what we did to others. And we also learned through all those wars and all that history that there's nothing to gain and everything to lose from this torture. You don't get actionable intelligence. You get a desperate person who will say anything to make the electrical shock stop, to make the waterboarding stop. And so many of these people we picked up weren't even, so-called enemy combatants. Guys that were in the wrong place at the wrong time in some cases. And while the torture doesn't elicit anything useful from an intelligence standpoint, and sometimes harmful from an intelligence standpoint when guys are making stories up and causing our resources to be wasted on wild goose chases, it most definitely harms our country and our perception of our country and of America when this gets out and we create a whole new generation of jihadis. We created the conditions for ISIS in the Middle East. And we continue to by raining down drone bombs. I mean, bad enough that the great Satan wants to kill you and your family when you're just some shopkeeper in Syria or something. Bad enough that happens, but it's done impersonally by a guy in a joystick behind a joystick in Las Vegas, raining down fire from the sky. Why wouldn't they want to attack and kill us? These are all part of the same core rottenness that we must address and eradicate in our American soul. And I know we can. I know we're better than this. I know we've overcome terrible things in this country. But we can't overcome them just by acknowledging them and move on. There has to be some accountability. Somebody has to be held accountable. Some of these cops that kill kids, kill unarmed people, have to be thrown in prison to make the point. How many times have we heard about a judge who throws the book at a certain offender to make them an example to the community, to show that we're serious about cracking down on crime? All right, let's get serious. Let's walk a few Wall Street bankers in the perp walk. Let's put them in some prison garb. Let's get some mugshots of those guys, the bad cops. And maybe we can make some change happen here. Folks, that's all the time we got for today. And to conclude, I want to dedicate today's shows to another one of our listeners who will no longer be joining us. He's been away for a while, but those of you in the chat room might remember Toz420, T-O-Z420. He's a grower here in the state of Oregon. I was informed via Facebook today that he passed away this week, and we'll miss him as we miss anyone who's a longtime fan of the Russ Belville Show. It's because of you folks that I'm here every day bringing you the latest news, views, interviews, data, research, and more. Thank you, Toz, for being a supporter, and thanks everyone who continues to support. I'm Radical Russ. Till next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you